morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at a new Kangaskhan card. And I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, this card looks really gosh darned awesome. Maybe it's another one of those ones that I hype up and it's not that good, but I refuse to believe it. It looks great. Number two, we know what the blur is. I have now gotten to the point where I am absolutely happy saying no. I know why the blur is there. Now, this card is blurred just like the Drift Blim yesterday was blurred. But we've got some new information. Do remember, as always, if you want to skip straight to the attacks, there are timestamps in the description. Yesterday, we looked at a Drift Blim and oh, look, they're blurring something out. Well, so's Kangaskhan. But we looked at Meloetta earlier, and we looked at Lucario, and both of them featured Garchomp and Giratina in the artwork, bearing in mind Garchomp and Giratina is one of the Tag Team GXs we're getting in this set, the only one that has actually currently been revealed. So clearly, the blurring here is blurring out a Tag Team GX we've not yet seen. It's Choo Choo. It's Choo Choo GX. It is Raichu and Alolan Raichu GX, and if anyone ever calls it anything other than Choo Choo GX, we probably can't be friends. How do I know it's Choo Choo GX? You can literally see Raichu's ear that hasn't been blurred out in this picture. Plus, it's clearly Choo Choo. So we've solved that mystery, but what does this card actually do? Well, the basic stats don't look terribly inspiring. Now, 130 HP is quite good because it's out of Zoroark range, which is nice. But the retreat cost of 2 is just generally a little bit high. The weakness to fighting is rubbish because it shares a weakness with Zoroark and Pikachu and Zekrom, both of which are great right now, and a load of people are playing Buzzwole, and look, it's just really good, if I'm honest with you. It's a really good card. And being a colourless Pokemon, you don't get any exclusive tricks, you're not hitting anything for weakness. We don't like the basics, but we do like the attacks. First attack, 1 colourless energy, draw 2 cards. It's fine. It's not particularly good. It's not particularly exciting. It's fine. I mean, look, Virizion GX has this attack, and that's not a bad little thing. If you go second, your first turn of the game, you got nothing else going, draw a couple of cards. Mid-game, got nothing rolling, draw a couple of cards. You're going to get a KO in between turns with Shrine of Punishment, draw a couple of cards. It's fine. It's useful. It's not a reason to play the card, but it is a handy bonus you get if you're playing the card anyway. What is really good, however, is the second attack, and that's why we're going to focus on that in this video. 4 energy, this attack does 50 damage for each of your tag team Pokemon in play. And maybe it's just me being overly excited, because I do have a habit of being overly excited about some things. But this looks absolutely flat out, over the top, ridiculously, phenomenally great. It's a basic Pokemon, it's colourless energy, and if you've got 5 Tag Team GXs and this in play, you're hitting 250. Well, that's Pikarom and a whole bunch of others. If you then add a Choice Band, you're up to 280, so stuff like Celebi and Venusaur is going down. And at this stage, the only thing you're not getting a one-hit KO on is Magikarp and Wailord Tag Team GX. Everything other than that, you are getting a one-hit KO using a single prize basic Pokemon. That is absurd, ladies and gentlemen. That is absolutely absurd. Now, it's not the easiest Pokemon to use, because there's 2 things we need to be looking at with Kangaskhan here. Number 1, it takes 4 energy. I know I mentioned that before, but it's pretty important, worth mentioning again. Number 2, you've got to have a field full of Tag Team GXs. So let me give you a great example. Let's say you're playing Magikarp and Wailord. How do you get the energy rolling with Magikarp and Wailord? You use Naganadel to accelerate energy from the discard pile to itself, and then you use Quagsire to move that energy to the active, and you might use Aqua Patch in there to get a bit of extra energy as well. Problem is, 1 Naganadel, 1 Quagsire, that's 2 bench Pokemon that are not Tag Team GXs, so that's 100 damage off the table, and you're down to a maximum 150, because you're going to have a Kangaskhan out. This is not ideal. It's probably not going to work great with this. And similarly, Malamar decks. Let's say you're using something like, let's go Latias and Latios, even though it's not a great Tag Team GX. I still love it, ladies and gentlemen. Baby Daisy Spirit Pokemon for the win. Problem is, you're probably going to want a couple of Malamar out so you can use it twice onto Kangaskhan, then attach a double colorless energy and roll, and you will want to use double colorless energy here. But then you've got 2 Malamar on the bench, so again, you're hitting a maximum 150. And look, hitting a flat 150 with a non-GX is great. If we look at something like Ho-Oh, well, Ho-Oh hits 180 for 4 energy, except it's 3 colored and a colorless, and it's a 2-prize Pokemon, and you can't use it next turn, whereas Kangaskhan hitting 150 for 4 colorless energy on a single prize Pokemon that you can use next turn, there's a certain advantage to being able to do that. But really what we want to do here, where our mileage is coming from here, is being able to do either 200 and one-hit KO GXs, because 200 is already enough for a Lycan Rock. At a choice band, you're up to 230, and honestly here, I mean, look, everything from Gardevoir on down is getting KO'd. Sure, there'll be a couple that survive, but not very many. But then, like I've said, if you can get this and 5 Tag Team GXs out, you are rocking and rolling. So the question becomes, how are you going to do it? How are you going to get Kangaskhan and just a bunch of Tag Team GXs? Well, there's 2 main ways that I can think of just off the top of me head. Now, if we go into Expanded, we'll have a quick word at the end. Expanded can get stupid. But starting off, how about Fire decks with Welder? Welder allows you to attach 2 fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon and then draw 3 cards. So do that here with Kangaskhan and draw those 3 cards after putting 2 energy on. Oh, look, now you just need a double colorless energy and you're off and rolling. Or you could even use Lieutenant Surge's strategy if you were behind on prizes, which would let you play 2 more supporters. So you go Surge, double Welder, and you're off. And of course, playing the first Welder is then going to hopefully let you draw into the rest of what you need in terms of Welder and energy to use the second one. So that is a possibility. And then you just get a bench full of Resha, Ram, and Charizard Tag Team GX. And then you're golden. Incidentally, you might need to fill up your bench with Tag Team GXs here. Might I suggest Magikarp and Wailord because it's got 300 HP and it can be searched out with Brooklet Hill. Simple as that. You could use Marshadow and Machamp, and that would be an option. But the issue with Marshadow and Machamp here is that it's not got as much HP as Magikarp and Wailord, which is why I prefer that one. Simple as that, to be honest with you. Get a big blocker on the bench and you're rolling. I think that is a great, great thing you can do here. Just go Welder and then go nuts. The other option you've got here is Giovanni's Banishment. Lets you discard a couple of undamaged Pokemon from your bench. So you get stuff like Quagsire and Naganadel. You discard them using Giovanni's, and then you bench Tag Team GXs to fill up your bench. That one's a bit more convoluted, but it's absolutely possible. In any Tag Team GX deck, this can do a huge amount of damage. Yes, it's for 4 energy, but you can use double colorless energy and any other energy acceleration. And frankly, you need energy acceleration. It's the only way this is going to work. Tag Team GXs use energy acceleration. Pikachu and Zekrom use Tapu Koko and Thunder Mountain, and then it just accelerates itself using the first attack. Some decks use Malamar, Fire decks use Welder, Naganadel Quagsire is a thing. Generally speaking, these Tag Team GX decks need energy acceleration. So take advantage of that energy acceleration with Kangaskhan. And then maybe you just Giovanni Banishment. Or maybe you can just manipulate it so you don't need... I mean, you might only need to do 150. But the amount of damage you can do here is silly. Really silly. This is a phenomenal attacker in Tag Team GX decks. It's a basic, it can do stupid damage. Colorless energy. And yeah, you got to have a whole bunch of Tag Team GXs on the bench and your opponent can Guzma and KO them. But do a bit of metagaming. Play Tag Team GXs you don't think your opponent's going to be hitting for weakness. Play something like a Magikarp and Wailord. Grass is not a big type right now and you've got 300 HP. You can search it out with Brooklet Hill. You're probably going to be okay. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Expanded, but Expanded has Skyfield that lets you have 8 bench Pokemon. Plus, it has stuff like Max Elixir, which just allows you to attach a basic energy you find in the top 6 cards of your deck to a bench basic Pokemon like this. And between stuff like Skyfield and Max Elixir, you can really go a little bit nuts here, because you can even afford to use like free Shaman and still have 5 Tag Team GXs on the bench to be hitting for 250, which is a little bit dumb over the top good. No, this is not going to be perfect in every deck. There are going to be a bunch of decks that cannot make proper use of this. But in a Tag Team GX deck, if you're confident you can get the energy on here, and most of them can, you've just got a Pokemon that gives up 1 prize that's hitting for a whole bunch of damage and probably taking 2 or 3 prizes. That's literally how you win. You win by taking more prizes than your opponent. And if you can take 2 or 3 prizes of a Pokemon that only gives up 1, you are rolling. And if your opponent does then start attacking Tag Team GXs on your bench, you keep the energy and you can just keep smashing with Kangaskhan. So they kind of have to go after Kangaskhan, which means they're not going after your Tag Team GXs. And if they do go after your Tag Team GXs, you're taking them out with Kangaskhan. And you're taking out their attackers. And they're probably going to run out of steam. I adore Kangaskhan. I'm giving it 5 Wassies and I don't even care. That might be too generous. I'm just looking at this and I'm convinced that somebody is going to go ahead and start winning tournaments playing a Tag Team GX deck with 1 or 2 of these, and this is going to be the reason they're winning. I'm convinced this is awesome. But hey, maybe you're not convinced. I mean, I've just spent 12 minutes trying to convince you, but if you aren't convinced, or even if you are, that's where the comment section comes in, ladies and gentlemen. Go nuts, but please do remember the rule. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure that you go checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about other games. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.